Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special match in Movie Battleground. Because of Halloween coming up, we have a special horror match with two fine competitors, Luca Fallon and Mike Hanley. Luca, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. This is an interesting one. It's interesting because, like, obviously I'm 2-0 now. I've had 2 wins, and I've kind of made myself this quite sort of strong position in the league, and this is my territory. But I'm going up against like a very strong competitor, someone who I have a lot of respect for. So this is a really interesting one. Like, I feel like going in, I'm kind of the favorite here. But I'm very excited for this, and I almost feel more nervous than I have for any of my other matches before, because this is kind of a big deal for this one. Like, I owe it to the genre that I'm such a fan of. So I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous, maybe more than I should be, but I'm very excited for this one.
And Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Luca, I don't think you should be nervous at all. I have a feeling I already know where this is going to go, and I'm here to be entertained, so let's do this.
Okay, then let's get started with our very first question. What is the best horror movie? We're going to start with Luca on this one.
Okay, so of all time, I went with pure horror movie over like horror sci-fi and stuff like that. I went with The Exorcist, and the main reason that I went with The Exorcist, the William Friedkin film from 1973, is because it goes past just the horror core. I love the horror genre. I love movies that are designed to scare. But what makes The Exorcist so incredible is that it takes it out of just being a horror movie that is designed to scare. It becomes a really wonderful character study, a really wonderful family drama, a really wonderful philosophical story that combines those elements with the horror core. Is absolutely terrifying, beautifully directed, just honestly just a really beautiful story, as well as being like an incredible scary movie. So that's why I went with The Exorcist.
All right, and Mike.
It didn't really take me too long to think of what I consider the best horror movie of all time. Could have used this for every question if I wanted to. I tried to, but I chose John Carpenter's The Thing. And I chose it because I think it's just amazing. It's the one horror movie that actually does have some frightening parts to me, and I'm very hard to fucking scare. And those simple scenes in there have an impact on me. And it's Kurt Russell at his best. It's John Carpenter at its best. I love Halloween, but I think John Carpenter's The Thing is his magnum opus. That's why I chose The Thing.
Okay, let me just start the time. You guys have 6 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so let's start with your comment about Carpenter's best. No, it's not Carpenter's best movie. It's got some of the best special effects in movies in the 1980s. It's got some very, very great fear and gore and like body horror effects. But just from that, David Cronenberg did that better. Rob Bottin's special effects are great, but it is not Carpenter's best movie. Halloween is Carpenter's best movie. It is a tenser movie. It is a scarier movie.
Tenser movie? I don't think it would be tenser. I don't think it's tenser. No.
Okay, so why?
Why? Because in The Thing, you have no idea who the killer is. You have no idea where the hell they're coming from. Halloween, you know who the killer is. You see him majority of the time coming where he's coming. The Thing, you don't know which one of them could be the killer at any point. It could be anyone. Even at the end, people are still contemplating at the end if Kurt Russell was The Thing at the end.
Okay, that's fair enough. It does have that twist at the end, but I think that Halloween is a more perfectly executed movie from Carpenter. Exorcist is Friedkin's best work. It is a horror movie unrivaled, and the thing that it has over The Thing is that it brings in the personal to a greater extent. Kurt Russell is very good in The Thing, but the emotional weight that you get from Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair in The Exorcist is unbelievable. The horror in both of these films comes from the idea that there is something inside you that you don't understand, that you don't know, and that's what you're afraid of. But the reason that The Exorcist does it so much better is because you get a really strong emotional anchor on the characters this thing is resting inside. You really identify with the Linda Blair character. You really grow to like want to protect her and want to care for her, and you can't. And that's why it's so beautiful and so horrifying when she's possessed by the Reagan spirit, is because you have more of an understanding of that character. Kurt Russell is a good actor in The Thing, and he gets the paranoia across very, very well, but you don't care about the characters in The Thing as they're being invaded in the same way that you do with The Exorcist. The Exorcist is a more resonant film and a scarier film because you're more afraid for the characters, because you care about them more than you do in The Thing. And I think that's ultimately what it has over a film. That's what The Exorcist has over a film like The Thing. It's got a stronger emotional core to it, which makes the scariness all the more scary.
I think you can relate to the characters in The Thing a lot, because it's the characters that are stuck in one place and snowed in. People have been snowed in before. They know what it feels like to be that atmosphere of, what's the word for it, contained. When they're contained in there, it's a feeling of getting contained in small spaces. People have that fear of being contained in small spaces. They're stuck in these small spaces. They can't get out. Exorcist, you can leave the house.
But you can't, because you're a child. You can't leave the house because you are a defenseless child in The Exorcist. You, of course, could leave the Washington house. Ellen Burstyn has to a lot, and that's part of why that sort of dynamic is so heart-wrenching. But you can't leave the house because you're a defenseless child. And there are scenes in The Exorcist that hinge so much on that idea of being defenseless. The scene where Reagan is in the hospital and she's being examined and she's having a fit, and the scar tissue raises on her stomach and it says, "Help me," is heart-wrenching because you understand that she can't escape from this place. And sure, The Thing is like an alien creature that attacks you from the outside. With The Exorcist, the fear is inside you, and it doesn't need the Rob Bottin special effects to get that across. It gets that across purely with the emotional anchor. But even though it doesn't need that, the external stuff is so unbelievable. The performances from Linda Blair, Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow are absolutely unbelievable. The soundtrack from Mike Oldfield is incredible. The soundtrack of The Thing is great, but Ennio Morricone has done more and better atmospheric soundtracks. There are more and better soundtracks that get across the paranoia, like Howard Shore's score for Videodrome and Fly, which get across that paranoia much better than Morricone's soundtrack in The Thing, which is excellent. But Mike Oldfield's Exorcist theme from Tubular Bells and his theme work for the rest of the film is incredible. It's unmatched. It has an unbelievable sense of both being emotionally attached to these protagonists and the terror of what's happening. And in Exorcist, you're going up against the devil, the most terrifying thing you can possibly imagine. All of the sin and evil in the world is inside this poor innocent girl, and that anchors it so wonderfully. It's such an emotional story that at the same time manages to be terrifying because of who it's happening to. Kurt Russell and the team in the Antarctic are grown adults who are trained to deal with things. Obviously, they're not trained to deal with things. They're not trained to deal with that. But they are trained to deal with things. Linda Blair is an innocent child, and that is what's so horrifying. It's because she's at her most vulnerable, and that is at the same time beautiful and heart-wrenching and terrifying. And that's why Exorcist does so much more, so much better than The Thing does.
Talking about how it uses the effects of The Thing to bring out the atmosphere. It really does. One of the specific scenes that it does not rely wholeheartedly on it. It's still in there at the end of the scene, but it's still not in there. It's a scene where they are testing the blood. Before it actually
comes up, the testing the blood scene.
Yeah, before it comes up, before they actually turn, that tense scene of them just talking to each other, them just staring at each other, knowing that one of these guys is gonna get blown away before they actually test the blood. Are they actually gonna shoot each other before they actually test the blood? Because it's so tense and so atmospheric, and they don't rely on the effects to bring that apart.
That's absolutely true, but even the stuff that doesn't rely super heavily on the effects relies on the original Thing from Another World, the Howard Hawks film, because that kind of mathematical montage of dialogue that is really made to bring up the tension is very much a trademark of Howard Hawks in the original Thing from the Other World. The Exorcist does not rely, so for comparison, you could take out the original William Peter Blatty story of The Exorcist, and you could take out all of the special effects from The Exorcist, and it would still be a terrifying and heart-wrenching story. The Reagan makeup is great.
I'm gonna have to call time
Seriously?
on that one.
Wow, that's quick.
6 minutes, yeah. I wish I could get let you guys going farther because it's been a great fight so far for this one. So starting your closing statements. We're starting with Luca.
The Thing is a great movie. but The Thing relies super heavily on the special effects and the tension and atmosphere that is created by everything around the characters. The Exorcist has the effects, it has the tension and atmosphere that is created by everything surrounding the characters, and it has an incredible cast of characters that you truly believe the horror that is happening to them. It is a more holistic film than The Thing. It has a wider grasp of the terror than The Thing. It is a scarier movie than The Thing. If you took out everything except the characters from The Thing, it would not be a scary or good movie. If you took out everything except the characters and their interactions from The Exorcist, it would still be an incredibly scary, incredibly profound, perfectly filmed, perfectly acted movie. A perfect film.
All right, and Mike.
I wholeheartedly disagree that if you took out everything of The Exorcist, that it would be still as better as The Thing if you take it out. Because even if you took out all the special effects, all the thing, you still have the alien in the people and people's mind and their minds to there. It could still be an amazing film, even without showing the alien itself come out. It could still show them brutalizing each other. The horror is still there. The horror is there because it's relying on people's reactions to what's going on. It's relying on the fact that they're going to be killing each other's friends because of what's happening. And the effects are there, the story's there, and they have a good some of the best acting out of those group of characters that I've seen. That's why I believe that The Thing is a better film than The Exorcist.
Okay, this is honestly a really tough one to call. Both great arguments from both of you, but I am leaning one particular way because I did like one because it was honestly back and forth the whole time. Someone would bring up one point and give a knock to the other one, and it just was back and forth the whole time. But there was one thing that was said. Luca said that it was, if you take the characters and whatnot, it would still be a scarier film. And Mike, you did defend it, but I just don't think the point that you made was good enough to sway it in my decision in your favor. So I will give Luca the point for that one. Great fight, really good.
1 second.
All right. Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna do the opposite of what we did and argue on what the worst horror movie is. We're gonna start with Mike for this one.
So it's the worst horror movie we're doing?
Yes, we're doing the worst horror movie this time.
Okay. So when I was thinking of the worst horror movie, it took me a while to come up. I had a few movies off the top of my head that I wanted to choose, and it was just going through them, going, what do I consider the worst horror movie? And I chose, you guessed it, the only choice to make, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. This movie is horrible. It took an amazing found footage concept, and it just fucking destroyed everything the original did. And just went, we're going to go our own way with it, and we're just going to screw it up completely. We're going to show the one thing that they did not want to show in the original, and they didn't, was a witch at any point. At the end of Blair Witch 2, spoilers, one of the female characters inhabits the witch. And it's just terrible. There's just too many things. I'll explain more as the fight begins, but I chose Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows.
All right, and Luca.
This is not just to be cute. This is not just to, be thematic. The Exorcist 2 is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. It takes everything good about the original, everything potent, everything beautiful about the original, puts it in a pile, it drops its trousers, it crouches over it, and it takes a big old shit on it. It has some of the worst performances I've seen in a horror movie. Richard Burton is terrible. Louise Fletcher is terrible. The whole thing is fucking awful. It brings in this ridiculous, tribal standpoint to it that's racist. It's tasteless. It shits on the original Exorcism. It portrays it as being pointless. It creates this horrendous, awful psychodrama between the characters. It is an unpleasant, flinchingly terrible movie. I watched it before this fight. I knew what I was going to take before this fight. I watched it before this fight. That movie fucking smells bad. That movie hurt me. Blair Witch 2, it's a bad movie. It's an incredibly bad movie. But what does it ruin? It ruins Blair Witch Project, which is a good movie. What does The Exorcist 2 ruin? It ruins what we have just decided is the greatest horror movie of all time. It is a fucking insult. I hate it. It is the worst.
All right. And this time you'll have 5 minutes, so you start it now.
Okay, you saying that it ruins the original Exorcist. It does not ruin the original Exorcist because we just said it's the greatest horror movie of all time. If it ruined it, it would not be the greatest horror movie of all time. Blair Witch 2 completely ruins the original because it follows the mythology of the original, and it has some of the worst acting in the world, and it makes the audience feel like they're fucking idiots when you're watching it. They make the audience feel like idiots. They have some of the worst scenes in there. The biggest thing is, when they get out of the woods, they can get the hell out of there. They can leave. What do they decide to do? Let's just stay in the woods. Let's just go into a place by the woods.
Hold on a second. You're bringing this up as like, okay, they could get out of the woods, right? I am now arguing a movie where Linda Blair could leave. I am arguing a movie where the Reagan character could fucking leave. And she doesn't. She absolutely doesn't. The thing about Blair Witch 2, right, that I at least found to be like interesting in some kind of significant way, is that it takes the original plot of Blair Witch, like the found footage aspect of it, and it turns it into quite an interesting portrayal of like mass hysteria and psychodrama around the original Blair Witch thing. What The Exorcist 2 does is that it turns the original Exorcist into a trauma episode. It devalues the exorcism of the original Exorcist. The entire point is that Richard Burton is trying to prove that the Max von Sydow character from the original was a legitimate exorcist. And he does this by going to Africa, being led by the demon from the original Exorcist. It's fucking nonsense. And the tribal aspects of it, where the director, whose name I forget, he directed Deliverance. And the fact that someone who directed Deliverance...
John Borman.
There we go, John Borman. Directed this movie. He had such contempt for the horror genre. He had such contempt for horror fans. He wanted to make something that he specifically described as undoing the damage of the original Exorcist. And to create a movie that is so awful and so traitorous to the main characters as the original, as Exorcist 2 is, and say that you wanted to undo the damage is fucked up, and I hate it. I hate it so much. And I know that I'm speaking in personal dialects here as a fan of The Exorcist, but this is what every fan of The Exorcist and every fan of horror cinema feels when watching this movie, because John Borman has such contempt, and it is a terribly made movie. Linda Blair is an incredible child actress and a terrible adult actress. Richard Burton is genuinely hilarious, but he's not supposed to be. It's not one of those so bad it's good, like funny performances. He's completely unwatchable, and you cannot get invested in drama because of how terrible John Borman is. Blair Witch 2.
You were saying that Blair Witch 2 took the mass hysteria approach. No, it didn't, because when it starts, he's taking a turn because they want to go back. They actually are interested.
Well, that's the mass hysteria thing.
That's not mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is them running the fuck away from them, not wanting to go. But they still do it. They still go for it. They still go in there, and they're happy to. Some of them are actually excited for doing it. It's not exciting because they just had 3 people missing, and they're going to go in there and search for it. And then when they do all that, and then I'm not even talking about just them in the woods. Then you get to the part when they're at his house, and then you start seeing all this. They come up with these random ideas of, oh, if you play it backwards, you're going to be able to tell what happens. There's no explanation of that, why that would work, or how they would think of that. It just, they go, let's just play it backwards. Let's see if it works. And then this whole cult aspect, which had nothing to do with the original mythology of the Blair Witch, and they have them. There's really no actors that are believable. The acting are atrocious. At least you have redeemable actors in Exorcist.
But you don't.
Now
they are good actors giving terrible performances. That's what's disappointing.
At least you have good actors, and plus the director of Blair Witch Project 2 went on to do Jack. You at least have John Borman, who went on to do Excalibur right after.
Excalibur's not a great movie. Like, he also directed Zoda, which is also a dreadful movie. But so, okay, so I want to say, so you were talking about how in Blair Witch 2, the whole point is that they're going back to the Blair Witch Project because they're so interested in it, even though people went missing. And that is what is genuinely interesting about this movie.
No, I'm not saying they went back because they're interested in that. I'm saying they went back because they're having fun doing it. Because
yeah, but that is what's so interesting
excited.
about this movie. It talks about how we create horror cults around things, and that is what is genuinely interesting about Blair Witch 2. There is a genuinely interesting story at the core of this movie about how people approach.
No interesting story in Blair Witch 2.
No, they're genuinely like the plot. Okay, so the plot is bad. I'm not saying the plot is not bad, but like there is a
The
genuinely
themes are bad. Everything.
No, but the themes are really interesting.
Upside down. It completely annihilates the mythology of Blair Witch.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. Like it really intelligently mirrors the entire like hysteria surrounding Blair Witch in the real world, and I think that is a really interesting thing about it. The idea of going on tours to the Blair Witch Project is really to the what's it called in Massachusetts? That's right.
Yeah.
It's Massachusetts. The idea of going back to the forest in Massachusetts, where the Blair Witch
Maryland.
sort of case,
Maryland.
Sorry.
Yeah, Maryland.
Where the whole Blair Witch incident occurred is a really interesting idea at the core of it. The idea at the core of The Exorcist is that the idea at the core of The Exorcist 2 is that maybe The Exorcist wasn't that important. Maybe The Exorcist 1 wasn't that important. Maybe everything from the first movie is being erased. Whereas in Blair Witch 2, as much as it's not a good movie, it genuinely builds on the mythology of the first film. And failing everything else, Exorcist 2 is a horrible, unwatchable movie. Blair Witch 2 is kind of funny in how bad it is. It is funny and enjoyable to watch, which Exorcist 2 is absolutely not. There's just so much nonsense in Exorcist 2. It's such a hateful movie, to the point where, again, it brings in a whole cult issue that you were talking about with Blair Witch. There's this weird, African tribal culture, which we're supposed to think of as, kind of enlightened. It's really weird and, borders on racist. It's
And it
really
makes no sense.
And it makes absolutely no, but I'm saying it makes no sense.
And also, audiences agree that Blair Witch Project 2, Rotten Tomatoes, 13% for Blair Witch 2. 20% for Exorcist 2.
Oh,
I'm not agreeing.
all right. Oh. I gotta call time for that. Actually, it's funny because as the time expired, my thing froze up. But anyway, I heard Mike said something. He said about the guy from Blair Witch 2. Not doing anything after, and how The Exorcist at least had the guy who did Exorcist 2 did something after, and I literally just caught him saying the Rotten Tomato scores.
Okay, so do you want me to say what I said?
But
in that gap?
Yeah, just say what you guys said.
So the gap in what I was saying, am I right in thinking that was basically just me talking for that gap?
Yeah, did you catch?
Yeah, you started talking and it froze up. So.
Okay, so basically what I said was that Blair Witch 2 at least has an interesting core because it takes the idea of mass hysteria that was created by Blair Witch 1, the idea of people being interested in going back to the forest, and really explores why people sort of go to these places where these cults of horror are formed, and that is kind of an interesting thing, and also that it's kind of so bad it's fun.
All right.
That's basically what I said.
Okay. Yeah, we could just start the closings now. So starting with Mike.
Okay, so for closing, bringing up the Rotten Tomatoes scores, bringing up the consensus of what people believe, not just what I believe, but what people believe that they would rather watch Exorcist 2, which I am not debating is a bad movie. It is a bad movie, but I am saying that Blair Witch 2 is a worse movie. I worked at a video store. When they had a choice to pick between the two, they always went for Exorcist over Blair Witch 2. And it's just overall horror. There's no redeemable acting in it. There's no redeemable story. The ending pisses me off to no end of her hanging herself, and then it just cut into them being cut. It makes no sense. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right, and Luca.
I want to go to what video stores you were forcing people to choose between Exorcist 2.
I was not forcing them. I was not forcing them.
So you described a lot of things that are not redeemable about Blair Witch 2, but you've not said anything that's redeemable about The Exorcist. The Exorcist 2 is a terribly acted, terribly shot movie that shits on the legacy of the original. Blair Witch 2, at the very least, has an interesting thematic idea behind it, where it explores these kind of cults of horror, explores things that are going on dark tours and stuff like that, where people go to murder sites, and explores why we look to be scared in that specific way, and that's kind of interesting. The Exorcist 2 the entire thematic core of The Exorcist 2 is why The Exorcist 1 is the idea that The Exorcist 1 and everything that happened it was not that important and not that uplifting and therefore shouldn't have really happened. It is a terribly acted, terribly plotted mess with absolute nonsense imagery, a disgusting semi-racist tribal aspect that I just find completely offensive and distasteful, that has absolutely no redeemable qualities. Blair Witch 2, at least at times, is an interesting movie.
All right. Once again, really good fight. I haven't seen either of these movies, but you both convinced me that I should never see either of these movies.
Don't.
Yeah. If we agree on something, that's the best agreement. Do not fucking.
Right. But once again, for the most part, a pretty even fight. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was when Mike said that. And I did look this up. I did do a little bit of fact checking. I could not find any other projects that the director of The Blair Witch 2 had done. I wasn't looking hard enough, or he legitimately hasn't done anything, but I couldn't find anything.
There were TV movies, I believe he did.
Okay.
That was about it.
So nothing important. Yeah, nothing important, because if he really did something worth a know, I would have found it. Well, when I did look up for what the guy who did Exorcist 2, he did do a couple other things, and I mean, I've never heard of this movie, but he did do a movie called Hope and Glory, which, from what I'm looking at, was nominated for Best Picture Director. So when Mike said,
you're judging on a different movie.
No, I'm just saying when Mike said that if it was truly what I'm trying to say is Mike said that the Blair Witch 2 was so bad it ruined a guy's career. While with Exorcist 2, he did recover from it. So that I'm not basing it off of, he got nominated for an Oscar for a different movie. Just basing it off of. So I will give the point to Mike for this one.
Blair Witch 2 is such a fucking dreadful movie.
Hell, I even thought there was more redeemable qualities of the remake, the new Blair Witch rather than Blair Witch 2.
I like that movie.
Like, it was good, but it still had its problems compared to the original. Even though I still think the ending of the original is one of the funniest scenes in the world, of him pissing in the corner. That's awesome.
I'm not a big fan of the
Oh, okay. So we're going on to our third question, which is, who is the most iconic horror movie killer? And we're going to start with Luca for this one.
It's Freddy. It's absolutely Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Freddy has been portrayed in 8 movies, 7 of which have been by the same actor, Robert Englund. And the thing that is so iconic about Freddy that separates him from other horror movie icons is that he talks, he has personality, he makes jokes. He's such a funny and also scary character at the same time that embodies something that is so terrifying while at the same time being incredibly charming. Freddy is the only slasher villain of the 1980s to have a really defined, strong character. And that's what makes him better and more iconic than any of the other slasher movie or horror movie killers. It's Freddy Krueger by a fucking mile.
All right, and Mike.
Okay, so there were only 2 real choices to make here. It was either going to be Freddy or it was going to be the main man, Michael Myers. He is the most iconic horror character. Off the end of, he's just a living shape. He's just a shape. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need any of that. He just needs to come and squeeze your head until your eyeballs fall out. That's all he needs to do. And I'll continue once the fight actually starts.
All right. I disagree with that, Mike. I think you could argue Ghostface, but that's just me.
Ghostface has been 3 people. Wow.
Yeah. But once again, 5 minutes to start. Starting now.
Okay, so let's talk about Michael Myers, right? Michael Myers has been portrayed by so many actors in the movies that he's been in. That is Andrew gone?
Oh shit, Andrew.
No, I'm just because this will on my end keep down on the lag. So
okay. No worries. Michael Myers has been...
we could just start over because
Start over from the arguments?
yeah, start over from the 5 minutes. So,
From the 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
You got your clock up?
Yeah. So starting now.
Okay, so let's talk about Michael Myers. First of all, for an iconic character to really establish themselves as a character, you have to have like a consistent presence and a consistent character to be portrayed through these films. Michael Myers has been portrayed by so many actors through so many movies that you never actually get a sense of who they are. Everyone moves a little differently, walks a little differently. With Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. He portrays Freddy Krueger so effectively.
Not the only actor to portray Freddy Krueger.
When Jackie Earle Haley plays Freddy Krueger, you can notice the difference. You can notice how different that is. When anyone else plays Michael Myers, it's always the same thing. It's always completely unimpactful. And also, arguably one of the best films in the Halloween series, you could argue that Halloween 3 is one of the best films in the series, doesn't even have Michael in it. It's the same thing with Jason. There's a film that doesn't have him in it, it's completely the same. To have a character who is so iconic as Freddy, who is such a consistent presence in all of the series and all of the movies, is so much more iconic. Like, Michael Myers has never been on talk shows or done interviews in character. That's nonsense. Freddy is so iconic that he's literally escaped from the franchise into the real world. That is incredible. That is unprecedented. And he's done so while being incredibly funny, incredibly quotable, and really scary at the same time. It's Freddy. There is no other option. Michael Myers...
The only thing with Freddy of being the horror icon is the fact that after a few of his movies, he became the comedic horror icon. It was more jokes than actual scares.
And then he got brought back with New Nightmare, which is one of his scariest and best performances. When Michael Myers started going downhill, aka Halloween 2, he just kept getting fucking worse. And the Rob Zombie character, the Rob Zombie Michael Myers, destroyed that legacy even further. It is complete nonsense to say that Michael Myers is like a strong or iconic character at this point, because he's boring. Freddy is not a boring character. Freddy has never been a boring character, but Michael Myers is a boring character. You could replace him with, like, I don't know, like a bear, a vicious stealthy bear, and it would be fun.
Well, here's the thing. Who you sitting in your room, who are you going to be scared of? Are you going to be scared of a guy who can't actually go into your dreams because that's not real? Or are you going to be scared of a masked villain who can come into your house and gut you to death, choke you to death, or squeeze your head off?
I'm going to be scared of the psychological
guy that can come into my house and stab me to death.
No, I'm going to be scared of the I'm going to be scared of the psychological horror that is imposed by Freddy Krueger. The idea that it is terrifying to go to sleep. And not just because, like, that is so well realized in the movies, but because it's based on something that happened in real life. There were real kids who died in their sleep in Singapore that inspired Wes Craven to write the story. So from that in and of itself, I'm going to be more scared of the terrifying reality. If you can't go to sleep, otherwise someone a killer who can be anything and anyone who wants to manipulate the world around you, I'm going to be so much more scared of that. But even then, it's not just about scary or better character. It's about most iconic. And everything that is iconic about Freddy is, like, uniquely Freddy. His glove, his face, his jumper, his hat, his jokes, his lines, you know, everything from, like, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy, welcome to prime time, bitch, all that stuff. They stick in the mind because they're so iconic. The most iconic thing about Michael Myers, the biggest icon about Michael Myers, is the Michael Myers mask, right? And that is not even a Michael Myers mask. That is a fucking William Shatner mask. That is Captain Kirk.
Changed it, and it's made him Michael Myers mask. It's now, when they look at that, they don't look at William Shatner, they look at Michael Myers.
But it is the most iconic thing about Michael Myers, and it comes from somewhere else. Everything that is iconic about Freddy comes from Freddy, and there are so many things that are iconic about Freddy. Again, you take away the mask from Michael Myers, you have just a killer. That's the same as any other killer in any other slasher movie who came from an abusive, neglectful household. Freddy is uniquely Freddy. There is nothing about Freddy that anyone else can match. Michael Myers is very similar to Jason Voorhees. He's very similar to Leatherface. Freddy is Freddy, and there's no one else like him at all.
You guys still got about like 30 more seconds.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if time was up.
Or like you didn't have anything to say.
No, all right. I mean, if you guys want to end it now, we can end it now.
Do you have anything else to say, Mike?
All right.
Are we doing last statements?
Final statements is fine.
I guess. All right. So we'll start with Luca with the closing statements.
Okay, so Freddy. He is both very, very scary in the real world because he's a child killer, and very, very scary in the nightmare world because he establishes psychological terror. He's very, very frightening, and he's very, very funny. He's very human, and he's very monstrous. He's everything that a good horror villain needs to be. If I were to line up like Freddy lines, like great Freddy lines, again, like welcome to prime time, bitch, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy, great Freddy kills, I could be here for fucking days. If I was to, like, to give you a list of best Michael Myers moments, I'd be sitting in silence for the rest of the fucking life. Freddy is Freddy. Michael Myers is just another horror killer. There is no one like Freddy.
All right, and Mike.
So the moment that Freddy versus Jason, let's bring that up. The moment that she goes, "What kind of F?" runs around with a Christmas sweater on, completely just annihilated Freddy's horrorness. And on Halloween night, on conventions, there may be some people dressing up as Freddy, but majority of people, they're dressing up as Michael Myers.
Absolutely.
That's what they're doing. They're dressing up as Michael Myers.
Is that it for you, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Once again, really good fight. But one thing was said that really it just stuck with me and swayed me to one side. Brought up that just Freddy has more iconic moments, more iconic lines, and just more iconic symbols about him. While Mike Myers just has the mask. And well, I think Mike did a good job that people don't think of it as a William Shatner mask. People think of it as a Mike Myers mask. Just the fact that Luca really hit that Freddy Krueger has so many iconic lines, so many iconic kills and moments, while Mike Myers really doesn't have any. And Mike, you didn't... I was kind of looking for you to come back saying, oh, he does have some, but you really didn't. So because of that, I'm giving the point to Luca for this one.
Thank you for not choosing Jason Voorhees. That dude is a fucking strength.
Once he chose Freddy, because that was my first choice, I knew it was going to be over because, yeah, that's true.
No, I honestly, I'm not a fan of the Friday the 13th series, but that's just...
I like the Friday the 13th series, but like Jason is like a wet blanket. I prefer Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah. All right. So, for the final question in the main round of questions, we got the best reboot or remake of a horror movie. And for this one, we're going to start off with Mike.
Okay, so I was thinking of the best remake or reboot. I was thinking of a movie that not necessarily is better than the original, but changes it enough to make it to its own thing. So after thinking about that, I went for the remake of Evil Dead. I think this movie changes, not necessarily in better way, but it changes it enough to make it to its own movie. Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead, is a classic horror film. The franchise of Evil Dead is classic with Bruce Campbell. They changed it up enough to make it their own thing. Fede Alvarez, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
That's right.
Thank you. He changes it up enough to make it a spectacular horror movie that is just overall amazing, has amazing deaths, has an amazing story behind it with the drug of her, using the drug aspect with her. That's why I went for that.
All right, and Luca.
The reason that Mike actually went for Evil Dead is because I have the thing. I've taken the thing. I've taken John Carpenter's incredible horror movie, The Thing. Of course I fucking love it. It is an unbelievably paranoid, contained movie with incredible special effects by Rob Bottin. Ennio Morricone's best soundtrack of his career. It is methodical, it is precise, it is a beautifully directed movie. I love every moment of it, and it takes the kind of the core paranoia of the original Thing from Another World film by Charles Lederer. I think it was written by Howard Hawks, but I believe it was directed by Charles Lederer. No, it was directed by Christian Knight, written by Charles Lederer and Howard Hawks. It takes that paranoia and brings it out to the forefront with some of the most revolutionary, unbelievable special effects of the 1980s. It is a masterfully paced movie that knows exactly where to put the fear. It is an improvement over the original movie. It is an improvement over the other world. Evil Dead is a good movie that completely misses the spirit of the original Evil Dead series. I'm going with the thing. It's perfect.
Okay. Just to be clear, Luca, you're talking about the original or like the one Mike was talking about before?
I'm talking about the thing from 1982. Yes.
1982, because I know there's a 2011 version. I just wanted
to. No, he's not talking about that one.
Yeah,
I'd be pissed if he was talking about that one right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So I, when I decide who gets the point, so I don't fuck up. Anyway, once again, 5 minutes for you guys starting now.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing you can say against The Thing as an actual great reboot is the fact that most of the general audience doesn't even know it's a reboot, doesn't even know it's a remake. They don't even know about the original. Most people, when you talk about The Thing, they think of John Carpenter as The Thing. So I look at that as it's an amazing film. I love The Thing, but it completely surpasses the original, that I don't even consider it a remake. I consider it the ultimate thing. Evil Dead, it has enough changes in there. It has a drug-addicted sister who goes to a cabin. The only thing that it takes from the original Evil Dead is a book of the dead and them being possessed. And it changes it up with some brutal death scenes that even Evil Dead could not do. In which I'm not saying is better. It's not a better movie. I think it's a better remake. Between that and The Thing, because it actually makes certain changes that are great, and people remember the original Evil Dead. Most people don't remember The Thing, and then you have the other reboot of The Thing that then people are going, okay, which thing are you talking about? Even Andrew had a problem thinking, which thing are you talking about? Evil Dead, people remember the original, but the new one got enough fans together to where they were able to do a TV show now based off Evil Dead because of the success of that Evil Dead.
Okay, so your Evil Dead movie is also sandwiched between two other projects, and sandwiched between a TV show and an original movie from the 1980s, which is much better. It's a much better movie, the original Evil Dead. That is a superior film. The original, The Thing from Another World, is like it's like in AFI's 100 Thrills list. It was nominated for AFI's Top 10 Sci-Fi list. That original thing is an incredibly well-revered sci-fi film. And the reboot of The Thing, because it's not a remake, it's a reboot. Like, these are both reboots, they're not technically remakes. Is just a superior movie. It takes the ideas from the original movie and expands on them and brings them into the 20th century, brings them into the 1980s, brings them into the future of movies with this incredible, like, practical effects and sort of atmospheric direction, atmospheric score. It is one of Carpenter's best movies. I completely agree with that. Evil Dead, Fede Alvarez has done better movies. Like, first of all, it's not Fede Alvarez's best movie. It's a kind of weirdly paced film with characters that are not very relatable aside from the main character. Whereas the original Evil Dead is a very, very funny and scary horror comedy with like incredible revolutionary bite to it. The remake of the Evil Dead is a well-made horror movie, but it doesn't have that bite and that progressiveness that the original Evil Dead has. The thing about The Thing is that it takes a much older, much more archaic film, and it adds that bite. It adds that progressiveness. It adds those incredible new techniques that the original doesn't have. The Thing from 1982 really expands on the original Thing from Another World. The Evil Dead from 2013? 2013 washes down the original Sam Raimi Evil Dead. It washes down the comedy. It washes down the containment. And it does take a lot from the original film. It takes that contained atmosphere. It takes that element of like being trapped with this thing. It tries to take a lot of the gore effects, but it doesn't quite match them because they're not as like in full view. It's not as full on a movie. Everything is kind of murky and brown, like a lot of horror remakes are. The Thing was released at a period of time when horror was having a golden age, and it is incredibly emblematic of that film. Rob Bottin's effects are incredible, and the thematic element of the original Thing, and really bring it into the open. It's a wonderful reimagining that, again, has all of the originals sort of spark, all of the originals kind of paranoia and containment, and really brings it to the forefront with the incredible effects, incredible soundtrack, incredible atmosphere. Evil Dead, the remake, is just kind of a fan film, and it's very obviously like taking a lot of the core thematic and sort of construction elements of the original Evil Dead without taking that spark. So I can't revere it as much. It misses the point in place.
With the Evil Dead of it taking out the comedy, that was what I liked about it compared to the because I didn't want to see a complete rehash of the original because the original cannot be touched of Evil Dead when it comes to that. So I liked the fact that they took it just straight horror. That they went, we're going to go straight horror with this. We're going to make it a frightening film where they have the death of him, not even the death of the scissors in the eye through his glasses is so brutal. And then he gets shot with a nail gun to his hand through his eye. Again, that character just gets completely messed up. It brings the horror straight to you. It brings the shock value right there. Just lost my train of thought. God damn it. That's the thing about Evil Dead is that's the thing about what I want from a reboot, remake, whatever. I want it changed. I don't want it to be the same thing over again because I have the original for that. That's why when you compare the 82 thing to the remake of the thing in 2011, I don't want that because that was basically taking everything about that and bringing that. I don't want that. I want something different.
All right. So we're out of time for the main argument. So we're going to start the closing, starting with Mike.
Okay. In closing, The Thing, I think it's an incredible film, but at the end of the day, more people remember that one than they do the actual original. For Evil Dead, we still have the original to go off of, and we have a new interpretation that changes it, brings new mythology to it, and the greatest after credit sequence of all time. All you see is a shadow of Bruce Campbell. Groovy. That's all you need.
All right, and Luca.
So you're arguing that The Evil Dead is a better reboot because it leaves space for the original Evil Dead? I don't think that's a very good sort of leg to stand on. The Thing is a much better reboot because it eclipses an already fantastic movie. You're right that more people remember the 1982 Thing because it's a better movie, because it takes the core aspect of the original Thing and it puts it into a much better directed, much better acted movie. The original Evil Dead is completely untouchable. I agree with you on that. But could they at least have tried to make a film that was as good or better than the original? That's what The Thing did. You've made some great arguments against the 2010 Thing movie, but you've not made sort of strong arguments against the 1982 Thing, because it is a much better movie. It completely eclipses the original. And the job of a reboot should not be to, like, just be a good movie and also you have the original there if you want it. The job of a reboot, like the job of any other movie, should be to be the best film it can be, and The Thing is the best film it can be. It is a better movie than the original Thing. Evil Dead, it's just another horror movie that takes away everything that is special about the original.
Okay, good argument again. There was it was pretty even up until the very, very end, to be honest. Decided up until what Luca just what he explained what a job of a reboot was and how was that what a job of a reboot. Well, while the Evil Dead one doesn't really do what it's supposed to do as a reboot, with that one to Luca again. The score is 3-1. So we're going into the speed round. Luca just needs one more point to win. So there's still a chance, Mike.
Yeah, I couldn't argue against The Thing. That's why you didn't see me argue anything. I wasn't going to argue against that. That's insane.
Yeah.
No fucking way that's happening.
I just got to post the speed round questions.
Motherfucker, I hate this 3-1 speed round situation I'm getting myself into.
Jeez. All right. I don't know why I couldn't find them. All right. So, for the speed round, you're gonna have 20 for the initial like first part of the argument, and then 10 seconds for the rebuttal.
Okay.
And all right. So the first speed round question is, I'm gonna get my clock ready first because. Okay. All right. I don't know why my phone isn't unlocking, but anyway. All right. The the first question, speed round question. What's the best jump scare?
Jaws in the boat. You getting ready for a jump scare?
Okay, She-Bitch, Army of Darkness.
Okay, all right. So, once again, 20 seconds. So, whenever you're ready, Luca.
The reason that Ben Gardner's boat and finding Ben Gardner's corpse in Jaws is such an effective jump scare is because the fact that Ben Gardner is out there has been built up for a long time. You've seen all the deaths that happen in Jaws at the hands of the shark, but when they go out, they're looking for a shark. They're looking to find evidence of a shark, but they don't. They find a corpse, and that is so sudden and such a quick subversion of expectations that it really emphasizes what the jump scare is there for.
All right, Mike, whenever you're ready.
The reason She-Bitch is a better jump scare is because when she's laying on the ground thinking that she's passed out dead, whatever, you know she's going to jump back up, but you don't see Bruce Campbell's reaction until she does it. The moment she jumps up, Bruce Campbell's reaction is so frightening. He is so scared, but it's so funny. Ben Gardner is a great jump scare, but it's too comical.
And 10 seconds, Luca, whenever you're ready.
There are 100 jump scares where you think a person is dead and they jump up. You know that that's going to happen. But the reason that Ben Gardner's is so much more effective is because it's not what you expect. It's not what you expect coming. It's a complete subversion. You expect a shark, you get a corpse. It's terrifying.
And Mike, 10 more seconds whenever you're ready.
The reason it's more effective jump scare is the fact that it's a reaction from everyone in the room. You have multiple people's reaction to her jumping up, and then you have the greatest moment of her punching him in the face. For Ben Gardner, you have a body lifting up, you know.
All right. I'm gonna have to give this one to Luca because he said it. It's just something you're not expecting, while with the Army of Darkness one, you are expecting it, and I'm giving it to Luca. He wins 4-1, and even though it was a 4-1 score, it was pretty. Other than I would say the last one, I was leaning more towards Luca the whole time. All of the 4 main game arguments, they were pretty close. It really came down to just 1 point. But anyway, Luca, how do you feel, man?
Oh my god, I'm so glad I didn't have to lose 2 speed round questions to get this one. I feel good. I could not have asked for a better opponent than Mike for this. I really couldn't. I think Mike is an incredible fighter. I think knowing him from the There Will Be Trivia League, he's someone that I really admire as a movie fan. I think he's very passionate, and I think that's great. I think that luck went my way in some matches, and I was happy about that. I wasn't necessarily happy about the speed round question that led it all. I would have liked a slightly more interesting, slightly more open speed round question to be the deciding factor, but it just happens the way it does sometimes. I'm really happy about this. I'm really, really happy that the genre that I'm such a fan of too, and I'm glad that I can do that.
All right, and Mike, how do you feel?
You know, it's not a surprise. I already knew this coming in, that I kind of knew what the outcome was going to be, and I'm fine with it. You know, Luca, you're amazing at this, man. I respect you all the way. All respect goes to you all the way. You're an amazing fighter in that and in trivia. I know you know your stuff, and I knew that coming in here, I knew it was going to be a losing battle, uphill battle for me, and I gave my best shot. And, you know, I just had fun, and I think that's all that matters here, is that we both had fun. If we're both entertained, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it was a great fight. Really good. And, you know, even though you got a 0-2 record, Mike, you're still, your talent doesn't, your record doesn't portray your talent. You are a really good fighter.
You're definitely the best fighter I can think of with an 0-2 record, by far.
Yeah. And I'm definitely the worst fighter with the 2-0 record. But anyway, Luca, where can people find you?
You can't really. I'm on There Will Be Trivia, but besides that, I've said this a few times before, I'm private. Leave me alone, please. I'm a very socially awkward person.
All right. I respect it. Mike, where can people find you?
Like Luca, you can find me on There Will Be Trivia, sometimes at Worldwide Movie Trivia, and then if you just want to see me put quotes up for random reasons because I don't like talking on it, on Twitter you can go at Mike Hanley 1987. You can find quotes on there.
All right.
Born in 1987?
Yep.
You're 9 years older than me, dude.
Where you can find me, you can obviously find me here at Movie Battleground. You can find me over also at There Will Be Trivia, hosted and when I'm not hosted, sometimes sucking at trivia. You can find my one match at Worldwide Movie Trivia, where I kind of don't suck at trivia.
Hey,
but,
you
can also find,
But win's a win, man.
Yeah. You can also find me on my own personal YouTube channel, just Andrew Hayes. You can also find me at Twitter and Instagram at Big Kim Hayes. And hey, really good fight. Glad I got the host for this one. Both great fighters. And until next time, guys. See you guys later.